I have been a player in the game of modern dating ever since I was 14 or 15. That's when I started taking romantic love a bit more seriously in my head, especially because when I was 14 and 15, it was a fucking pandemic, and let me tell you, bitch, I was going crazy over my first situationship. Um, and let me fucking tell you, the road until now, I'm almost 20. I'm 19. In 3 months, I'll be 20. It is fucking exhausting. Being in the pursuit of love is something beautiful. It has brought me to many epiphanies, and of course, it's easy to tell myself, like, oh, I wish I had the knowledge that I do have now of relationships and what I actually think about love. When I say actually, my opinion in a few years is most likely gonna change. I don't know everything. Like, bitch, I'm not even fucking 20. But it's easy to want to have had that information when I was, literally a fucking teenager. But I think these experiences have helped me understand myself. It's helped me understand other people who are still in the same boat and mentality that I was in when I was, you know, starting to talk to people and was starting to be pursued, and I started to pursue people. And I think one of the hardest things that I have had to do, and I've only been able to do that recently, was admit to myself that yes, I do actually want to be in a committed and loving relationship. And I did have a long term relationship during these past 6 to 5 years of dating, I guess, of actual dating. And sure, it was a different story when I was actually in the relationship, but when I wasn't in it, I would constantly tell myself, I don't want to be in a relationship. I want to be like everybody else. I want to participate in this culture of situationships and just fucking around and finding out and not being in anything committed. And even after that long term relationship that I had, I was trying to convince myself of this. And I think most people are in the same boat. And this happens because there is so much shame in wanting to be in a relationship. Nowadays, there's so much shame in admitting to wanting to be loved and to be seen and to be understood and to be accompanied, to be touched, to want to be loved by someone else. And that really isn't something that you should be ashamed of, that people should be ashamed of. It's something that's only natural. But at the same time that I came to this conclusion, I've also decided, well, not really decided, I guess it was just an unconscious decision that I made, that being in a committed and loving relationship wasn't a main goal anymore. To be with other people wasn't a priority in my life anymore, because for so many years it was. Whether it was through reading fan fiction, through installing dating apps, through being in actual relationships and situationships, obviously there was something that I was pursuing here, and that was romantic love. And only recently did I stop actively seeking that out. And I've just been having fun, meeting new people still, but harnessing my own skills and talents and rediscovering hobbies and interests that I have lost in these past few years or months. And I think that's a really interesting chain of events that happens. But I think it's only natural to happen when you finally come to the conclusion that, yes, I do want this, but I don't need it. And I think this is a really difficult thing to confront and to admit, because it has been so normalized in our generation and in the modern dating scheme that okay, we use the trifecta of dating apps, we all keep rosters, we're all going out and hooking up and fucking around, and sure, this is just a purely physical relationship, but I am gonna cuddle with this person and treat them like they're my girlfriend or boyfriend. And still, besides acting this way, nobody wants to admit that they want to be in a relationship, and nobody wants to admit that because people are paralyzed at the fear of being vulnerable, of giving someone else power over your feelings, because that's a terrifying thing to do. And there's so many reasons as to why we're so scared of vulnerability, because it could be about family, it could be just simply about capitalism shoving it in our fucking minds that, hey, you're not good enough, but you should also want to be in a relationship, but you're also fucking ugly, and you should lose some weight, and your skin is not good, and you're not white enough. There's so many factors that go into these fears, and I completely understand. Like, I'm not fully there yet as well, you know? And it's a long ass journey to, or at least a very hard one, to come to the conclusion, no, to admit to yourself that you want to be vulnerable, that you're willing to do that for someone else. And even though there are these acts of vulnerability, like treating your situationship like they're your partner and sharing intimate things and intimate moments with them, these are all shielded by this facade of, hey, but we're not anything, right? Like, we're just friends, ultimately. And I think this desire to be loved sometimes comes to an extreme in which, of course, all of that of like actually wanting to be in a relationship with your situationship or whatever, with your casual friend thing, it doesn't apply to most situations, or it does, I don't know. Sometimes the opposite happens, in which you don't actually like the other person that you're spending time with and dedicating time and energy and love to, because even if you don't like them, you want to feel like you're in a relationship, and you want to feel that connection, even if it isn't really genuine, even if it's just two very lonely people who have found each other and decided, hey, I don't like you enough to actually want to be something, but we can at least be a little bit of a something. And besides all that, capitalism has forced this idea of rushing everything, of being rich before you even hit 21, of knowing what to do with your life when you're 14 or 16. There is this rush to do everything. Fast fashion is another fucking sign of this. And to be in a loving, committed relationship, it's something else that capitalism wants you to rush to. But that simply cannot happen. I'm not a personal believer in thinking that you need to love yourself 100% to be able to be in a committed, loving relationship. I think it definitely does help. But I think at least garnering some self-respect and being selective with your partners and actually being patient enough to find someone that understands you and wants you and is willing to build upon a relationship with you, those are essential steps to take to be in a healthy and stable relationship. And I think using the trifecta of dating apps also doesn't really help anyone. Relationships don't bloom naturally anymore. People don't get to know each other before jumping into physical and mental intimacy, into an actual connection. Because when you go on a first date with your Tinder match, you're not thinking, oh, I'm just going out with a friend. Most people think, okay, I'm going out with a potential partner. And I think that just proves even more how much you fucking bitches want to be in a relationship. When I say bitches, it's gender neutral. After my first long-term relationship, after that broke off, um, I actually did this thing in which I kind of transformed the dependency that I had on a romantic partner to my best friend. Essentially, okay, what I'm trying to say is in my long term relationship, I kind of had this codependency thing going on. I would talk to him all the time, and we'd be on call every single day, and we hang out every single day. And I kind of, after the breakup, I started doing that with my best friend because essentially I was in the pursuit of this sort of intimacy, of this sort of love. But then I realized these are things that I didn't really choose, but essentially it seemed like the natural course, and then it just had a natural ending. The more that I thought about things, the more that I had time to myself. And I think getting rid of wanting to be with someone all the time helps, once again, redefine what love is. Because in terms of a romantic partner, love isn't about the someone that you depend on and someone that depends on you. It isn't about being with each other 24/7. It isn't about being love at first sight. It isn't about being unconditional. It's about finding someone that you are attracted to physically, emotionally, mentally. And it's about building a relationship with them based on communication and trust, of course. But of course, wanting to build that sort of relationship with them. And I think most people are just pussying out of saying that they want that. Because there are, in fact, evil fucking men and women who will lead you on and deceive you. And trust me, I have been in those situations before. And fortunately, I've never let that impede me from trying to pursue a relationship, from trying to find something romantic. And even now, it feels silly to admit that, like, hey, I do want a relationship. And I think it's even more difficult at times when, well, at least for me personally, when I was sad and I wanted a shoulder to cry on. And after my breakup, I realized I didn't really have that. I was sad, and I went to one of my best friends about this, complaining that I didn't really need someone to listen to me or to give me advice. I just missed having the feeling of someone waiting in my bed after a long ass fucking fuck ass day, and them being with their arms open wide, ready to comfort me. And he's in a loving, committed relationship, and all he said was that, yeah, it really fucking sucks because nothing really compares to the feeling of having a loved one embrace you in their arms. But for the time being, I had my friends. And there is absolutely no fucking reason why that isn't good enough. Yes, they are different feelings, but they're both fucking great feelings. I think, wrapped in a nice little ribbon, what I'm trying to say is that don't be scared of wanting to be loved by someone. Don't be scared if that feeling is romantic. Once you admit that feeling, once you embrace that feeling, you'll find yourself redefining love and giving it a whole new meaning. And you shouldn't be scared, because wanting to be held and understood and wanting to have a romantic company, a lot of people want that. Most people want that. And that's completely fine. And yeah, I guess that's just about it. Don't fucking pussy out.